as with any good study video, we always need some study snacks. And this one is something that I love, is a cinnamon plum walnut patisserie. The more I venture into my inner world, I realize how many consequences do my actions truly have on my life. My relationship to studying is no different. False promises, dying motivation, a pile of unstudied material, and a race against the clock. When I realize that in some reason I am responsible for all of this, it is greatly painful, not gonna lie. Madness is an understatement. And my heart began to bleed an ocean of desperation and shame. It is grief to realize that in order to progress, you must first shed the old skin. And once you've emerged with an expansive view, the sky will clear and the sun will shine again. I no longer fear tests, presentations, or achieving some great thing. I managed to find the true essence of studying, the merge between the mind and information. And to study intuitively is a gift, but sometimes information can only be learned. But then it stays with you for an eternity. Changing my relationship with studying is a crucial point in my life as I'm a student, and I do not wish my mental health to be sacrificed. I do not wish my life to be thrown out just to pass these exams. And I see the value in academia and the information that they allow us to learn. But it can be overwhelming, and there's so much to learn and so much to know and so much to present and prepare for. But what if we can change the way we view studying and start to find the true essence of this amazing opportunity? Hello magical people, and welcome to my channel. This video is going to be something that is very important to me, and it can be a very good guide to everyone who is interested in studying, who is a student, or just wants to learn, but learning as a process has become difficult for them. It is crucial that we understand our behaviors, what is keeping us from reaching our full potential, and finding a way to actually learn and retain information without trying to appeal to someone else. So let us break down how, why, and what is causing us to become unmotivated, to lose inspiration, and in the end, maybe give up. The I will do it later mindset is something that you might be familiar with. I think there's a link between postponing and performance anxiety. Performance anxiety, if you've never heard of it, is basically an anxious, nervous reaction to having to perform well or exceedingly at a certain task. And it appears more often than we'd like to acknowledge, from presentations to even writing homeworks. Sometimes the need to be perfect and get everything right because you know that's the only way that you'll get a good grade puts so much pressure on you that you end up postponing it till the last moment. But it gets so chaotic that you build and you know that you have so many things that you need to prepare for that it's just too much to handle, and that's when you just crash and break. It's the overwhelming nature the task, lecture, whatever, that keeps us from doing it. The uncertainty of the outcome also keeps us from facing our responsibilities. And the I will do it later mindset, the postponing, is something that we can fix if we change our relationship and how we view studying and how we view academic responsibilities. Why do you never keep your promises? When in a state of inspiration or motivation, it is easy for us to promise sweet nothings to ourselves, like I'm going to do this now and I'm going to learn more and study more starting from the next semester, but we never actually do it, and it becomes this constant cycle of you get the initial inspiration but you wait until the last minute and you just never keep it to yourselves. and the trust between you and yourself is broken, as well as you might never understand why you do this. This happens because when we think of that realization, it is the finish line that we look for. It's this determination that we think of, but actually refer to the end goal, the coming out of the process, the finish line. But we never actually consider the arduous job that has to be put in to get there, to the picturesque, aesthetic romanticization of the situation. When we are actually faced with reality and the process begins, we get scared, we freak out, we don't know what's happening because we thought everything would be so much more easier. And then we just end up giving it up because it didn't meet our expectations. By now, we can understand that we need a beneficial study mindset. That instead of focusing on a goal, we focus on the process and why does it matter to us. So I have some questions for you that you can ask yourself, either write it down in a journal or contemplate on it. Yes, you have to study, but why? What is it that you're trying to get out of this experience? How can you make this experience enjoyable? What is keeping you from focusing more on the subject or the task ahead of you? Is being perfect a goal or just an unrealistic expectation? Why do you keep postponing it? Are you overwhelmed? Are you feeling burnt out? If yes, why? Sit down and just contemplate on them. And if there are more questions that come up, write them down and try to answer. Try to pick your brain a little bit. So answering to these questions are going to help you understand why you're doing certain things. Why are you standing in your own way? Moving on to the next point is start to cultivate a thirst for knowledge. When you are overburdened by the amount of material that you need to study from, it gives off the impression that you need to learn everything all at once. And if you are really at the end of your deadline, there's pressure. I believe studying can be a fun process, can be something that we benefit from. But it takes patience to actually get it right. When you sit down to study and you look at the amount of stuff that you need to squash in your brain, the first thing to do is skim through the material and get the basis of what you're about to learn. What is the foundation of that subject? And then break it down into pieces. If you need to study that at one go, break it down into pieces and just focus on that little piece. And then focus on the details. Starting to contemplate on the information and then asking yourself questions, trying to get curious about what that says, and then finally using active recalling methods to remember the information. Active recalling, if you've never heard of it, is understanding the material and saying it back to yourself or writing it down for yourself. This way you activate more of your sensors, as in your hearing, your speaking, listening. A study showed that the best way to learn information is when you teach it. So if you have no one to tell it to, then say it to yourself. And this can be done by many ways. You can either record yourself or just speak it out loud. Very easily get attached to this idea that we cannot do something or that we're not good at something. But it's really easy for us to just say it and never try it out, because there's one thing that keeps us from getting it. Determination here is key, and you must understand that, yes, some things are easier to learn than others, but most of the time, it takes that one leap of faith, the trust in yourself, or that curiosity and questioning of, can I actually do this? Can I actually learn this thing? Can I actually understand this? Because the more you're open to just learning without prejudice, that is when you get it. So do not quit on yourself. Rest. Know how much rest you need and stick to it. I do not believe in overnighters. I know in some cases it's like your last minute thing and that's the only thing that's keeping you from passing or not. But if you're able to structure your routines, your study routines in a way that you do not stay up overnight, I promise you, you're going to get so much more out of that session than you would ever think. If you just dedicate your time to it and promise yourself that you'll start learning a month before or 2 months before, or even throughout the semester, whatever it is, do not stay up overnight. Try to have at least 6 hours in and avoid artificial stimuli like energy drinks. And try to reduce your caffeine consumption. Instead, truly focus on sleep and activities that recharge you rather than drain you. Try to drink green tea or matcha lattes instead, or reduce coffee, or try guarana, which is also a natural caffeine, and it doesn't really have that crash that you get after you drink an energy drink, for example. Find what helps you relax, even if that's like for 10 minutes. Try meditation or breath work or deep sleep or power naps, yoga, dancing, listening to music, or even doing your chores. Something that takes your mind off of studying and can kind of switch you off. And please do yourself a favor and do not switch from one electronic device to another if you're taking a break. I know it's so easy to just take a 5-minute break and go up on Instagram or YouTube, but that is also stimuli. It doesn't really calm your brain and your nervous system, but it's a different kind of impulse. And if you're someone like me who sits in front of her computer for the entirety of her studying sessions, you don't really want to switch to another smaller device with a smaller screen and stare at it, because your eyes get tired and your mind goes numb, and when you are about to get back to your studying, you're going to feel even more drained. And ask for help from the community, from the people around you. If there's something that you don't understand, don't be afraid to ask a professor or even your classmates. If social anxiety kicks in, then there's tons of people on the internet that can help you for free, as well as if you are the type of person who doesn't really like studying alone, find a study group. You can also find them on the internet. There are many chat groups that people can join into and just study together. So whatever you are, know that you are supported and that you can ask for help. As we move on to exams, there are a few reminders that I want to get across. First of all, your worth is not dependent on the grades that you get or the performance that you have. Detach yourself from wanting to please others instead of studying for yourself. Because once you make that shift from I'm doing it for myself to learn, to study, to enjoy this, instead of wanting to please your parents or your teachers or anyone else besides yourself, that's when you're going to want to perform and do the utmost and overwhelm yourself to the point where you just give it all up. Nothing is temporary. Only change is consistent. So know that this too shall pass. If you feel overwhelmed, if you feel pressured, and if you're at a point of giving up, know that you just need to persist a little bit more, because this too shall pass. Understand that besides the effort and work you put in, everything else is out of your control. And this might sound scary, but let's look at it from a different perspective. Know that the only thing you can do is learn and study, and the rest is up to something else. You cannot determine, you cannot pre-write your destiny or the outcome, but just trust in your own abilities and leave the rest to the universe. Because once you give all that pressure up and just only look at what's important, you're going to free yourself from so much worry and pain and suffering. No exam is worth your mental health. No exam. Detach yourself as much as possible. Tell yourself that this is not the determinant of your life. There are so many stories of people just breaking down when exam periods hit. And then it takes so much time for them to come back to life and to recuperate. Don't do this to yourself. Do not take it so seriously that it crushes you down. When you're studying, you might lose focus because in your mind, you're already in the examination room. Living in the future only causes you anxiety. And exam anxiety is real. Bring yourself back to the present moment by taking just 3 deep breaths or knocking on your head, trying to remember that you are here at this hour, this date, and that the exam is a few days ahead or a few weeks, a few months ahead. Try to remember that you have so much time left, even if it's 1 hour. Do not gravitate towards the future, but rather just stay present. And while or right before your exam, the anxiety crushing down can be destructive. I don't think there's a person out there who had never had exam anxiety. We all do it. It's something normal. We're nervous for the outcome. And of course, throughout time, the anxiety can be reduced or can be forgotten about fully once we are able to truly detach ourselves. But for most of us, it comes up naturally, and some feel it more than others. It is important not to resist it, just allow it to come up, but do not listen to it. Relieve it by speaking about it. Relieve it by acknowledging it, that yes, I'm experiencing anxiety. It will go away, but the more you resist it, the more intense it's going to feel. And I've heard stories of people forgetting lectures because of anxiety, because there's so much pressure on them and there's so much tension. I heard people get anxiety attacks in the middle of an exam because in your head you're trying to push it so away. You're so afraid of feeling anxious, but the more you repress it, the harder it wants to come out. So remember, whether it's a project, whether it's an exam, whether it's something that causes you anxiety, allow yourself to feel it. The more you feel it, the comfortable you can get with that feeling inside your body, and the less attention you pay to it for time. This all is very much just the little pieces put on each other. The more you want to change your relationship with studying, the easier it will become. But until then, you cannot do much. Just know that it's possible. Just know that it's possible for you to see it from a different perspective and to find joy and peace in it. And do not blame yourself if something didn't come out right. If you put in the work, congratulate yourself. But also assume responsibility for what you haven't done. Because karma is a bitch, but we love her. So with that said, thank you guys so much for being here. I hope this helped. Bye bye.